he actually owns me, I think. Sunet is the Swedish.
Bad is a bad way of saying.
Oh, that was a bad. Okay, sorry, that was bad to say. No. And we run some services, and we run some. We actually NordNet does not run any federation at all. So all the federations are run by the 4 of the 5 countries. So Sweden is running Swamit, Finland is running Hakar, Norway is running FIDE, and Denmark is running. Iceland is running Wave. Denmark is running Wave for Iceland. Yeah. Thank you, Martin. Yeah, please correct me when I say something wrong, right?
No, but that is fun.
So this is who NordNet is, and we run these services and network features, and we do other kind of initiatives around collaboration. One of the things why I wanted to have this session is that we also have a lot of educational stuff going on, and I see that in this identity space, trust and identity, there is now more and more overlapping things in all we do. And we did a survey, and we did a lot of surveys, and these are the top priorities that came out of this survey. And in all of these, even though the third highest thing was trust and identity, but we need trust and identity to run all of these things that you want to do in education. So it's becoming more and more, people are becoming more and more aware of this importance for this trust and identity. When I say people, I mean the users, actually, the ones that are using it, because Paul and these guys have always been pretty aware of it. These guys can tell so much more about this because they do this on a daily basis. But on a European level, we're doing some things. And especially they are running a core RIA platform that enables a lot of the things to connect to each other, so we can reach this level of trust. This is how more or less it looks. I think everybody's seen this slide before, and how we connect to each other. The AAI provides a authentication proxy, so we can make sure that Erasmus Plus and other apps can authenticate, and we can have this services up and running in a trust and secure way. There's a lot of people doing it, but there's also some weaknesses in this. There have been some discussions about how to restructure some of the things, and I think that maybe we can go into this a little bit later to cover some of these topics. At least what I'm hearing is that some of the it's hard for these educational vendors to be part of our federations. So we need to cover something, and there have been some attempts to create something, building blocks for education, I think it was called, and other stuff. But my academic ID is there, and it's being used a lot for Erasmus Plus. It has a lot of people using it. What it also does, it supports student mobility, and it supports the university alliances. The university alliances is something that is really big in Europe at the moment. I think there are, how many institutions? It was like, I can't remember. A lot, 500 institutions or something in these university alliances.
Yeah, it's 65 times every time, eight-ish.
Okay, yeah. So it's almost 500, yeah.
So the electricity could correlate.
Yeah. So there is a need for us to do some collaboration and discuss this and talk to each other around it.
So please explain for people here what the University Alliance is,
Okay, yeah.
Very interesting concept.
So the European Commission came up with an initiative called European Digital Education Hub. And the hub was then, there was created some alliances. So an alliance is 8 different universities is creating an alliance, and they're giving a set of tasks to solve. One of them is mobility and federation. And then they have all these alliances. I can't remember how many, you said 68?
Yeah, it's 65.
Oh, 65 on here, yeah.
So, but
It changes all the time, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it was 40, and now they expanded it to like in the 60s.
Yeah.
I didn't know the exact number, and it's every time like 8, 9-ish universities. So.
Yeah. And all these information from all these alliances goes back to the hub and are being, I hope, by somebody coordinated. So we might come out with a good answer in the end.
So more practically, what we see is that a set of universities work together to deliver some type of educational stuff.
Take the mic out of
Yeah, so what we see practically is that a set of universities working together to create some type of degree, more or less, based on different courses at different universities at the same time. So it's, for example, if you are doing geothermal, you may do things in Iceland and in Italy and so on at the same time, different courses, different views of things, and you get the geothermal degree. So that is the normal use case today.
So that's the that's what, yeah, the basic reason why the foundation was made was so we could bridge this gap, and we could. They're very focused on interoperability too, so get these technologies to merge, and hopefully also influence the vendors a little bit to be part of these standardizations that are made. The standardization framework for the digital education, I think this was actually presented by the hub before. So this is what it looks like. It's a little messy, I think. Sorry?
Yeah, no, this, yeah.
Yeah, it's the one there.
That's it.
But again, this is where we as federations can play a very big role, and it looks something that we work with all the time. And then there are the digital credentials that also attach to this and our federations. So this is exciting. And we in Europe, there's a legislation, I'm not sure, but end of next year, all European countries, 27. End of 27, every European country have to have a digital wallet for their citizens where they can put their micro-credentials into. They have to offer it. I don't know. I'm not sure everybody has to use it, but they have to offer it.
It must be available.
It must be available, yeah. Short overview and a lot of things to think about, and there's a lot of opportunities to collaborate with each other. And I also know that especially these micro-credentials are something that you talk a lot about here in this region too, in Asia. Should we go into the panel, guys? Oh, yeah.
Do you want us to move?
No, I want you to move, but Valder wants to say something. Oh, he's up there. He has a mic.
The digital wallets, just out of curiosity. Okay, again. The digital wallet, out of curiosity, is that something that is being discussed in the Asian region as something that we see emerging over the next years? I'm curious what is...
I haven't heard it in in this project, but the guys that are having a conference downstairs, it's something where they discuss a lot. And they actually have some kind of thing running in the School of Internet project. There's a whole, they have a whole work group working on it. And they created some micro-credentials that looks more or less like the ones we created.
Well, thank you.
I don't know, is anybody in the room involved with those micro-credentials? No.
So the European perspective here is, I don't think the micro-credentials will be in the European wallet, no. I don't think so. No, I think the degrees will be there, but not the micro-credentials, micro-degrees.
Okay.
Yeah, because it will be too much.
Okay, yeah. So you just have proof of your university degree, of your okay. Welcome guys. I'm really far away from you. Maybe I should come over here and take the. Oh my God! You're sitting all the way in the corner.
Of course.
So I wanted to have a discussion. It's an open discussion, so you can feel free to join in if you want to. But I wanted to have some perspectives on where we can take this and if there are any opportunities where we see we can do something together. And I know these guys are kind of the brains. They are modest, but they are in my world at least on all this federation stuff. So there are some challenges, also global challenges, and I think that you are dealing with them. And there's also some technologies that are changing at the moment. So there's a lot of things. So is there any unique challenges that you have identified that is something that we need to address like really, really soon in a global perspective?
There is and always have been and will always be the release of attributes. The problem to get identity providers to release enough data to services in a good manner in privacy perspective, that is very important. And that is the biggest problem we have between countries, even within countries. Yeah. But especially international level, to get this a university to release name and email address for a person to, for example, the Euro HPC system, can be a real hassle. Even though that, from our perspective, it's European Union money that is used and pay for the things that the university then can use more or less for free. Still, they don't release the data that is needed.
Well, I agree with what Paul says. That is to be an issue, at least to be in an interfederation scale, but even also on a national scale. There is a kind of reluctancy on sometimes giving out the attributes and the authentication credentials because to me it's sometimes, and that's even on a local scale, and the farther you get into federations and interfederation, it gets more complex because trust is local, as somebody would say.
My boss.
Your boss, yes. As life would say. But I think also the part where that the issue is that on one hand, you have the IDP operator who is responsible for the identity, or at least follows the policies that are set by a university. But sometimes those policies are not always clear. So the IDP operator thinks like, oh, well, I know my local services. They are usually large because it's the student information system and the financial system. And it's for the masters. So you have clear contracts in place. You run them yourself, or if you have a clear contract in place with the one who runs them. So that's okay. That you can see that. But if it's then those many services for those 5 researchers, the IDP thinks like, yeah, well, I don't know anything about that one. And gosh, maybe I'm liable, and well, then they have a rather risk-adverse tendency, which I understand from an IDP operator perspective, but it's a shame from a university perspective, because the costs and the effort are indeed on the IDP operator side, but the benefit is on the research side. I mean, in the end, it's also enabling business. In this case, business is research and education, literally. But it's basically what is your mission you have as a university? Well, to create knowledge, science, and to deliver courses. And having an IDP operator that basically holds that back, well, we need to find better ways into, I would say, the CEOs or the deans of universities, also via our own federations. I must say that there is also benefit in releasing those attributes and making those connections, because every time you do that, a researcher does not have to have its own account, which is at least visibly more safe, because you can reuse the credentials of the university credentials that's anyway already there. So it's also reusing infrastructure, making it more efficient. And also from security perspective, I mean, in all honesty, especially for a researcher, if he can't go via his own university, he will find a way to get to that access, because he still needs to do his work. And I could arguably say that anyway the university or a researcher goes for another route, makes it less secure. Anyway.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes.
I was still pondering on that.
Put him on the spot.
Yeah.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah, I want to continue to talk about this topic because I think it's crucial. I agree with Paul, and I thank Martin for having put this in this perspective. But I'll try to give another angle, which is that why it is so difficult. And I mean, you have named a number of reasons, but why? I mean, why really? I mean, attribute release at the end of the day, why it is so complex? I mean, if the IDP operator knows exactly what are the services that need to be accessed by his users, maybe, I mean, he could configure the IDP to just release his attribute at the end of the day. And I think that many of the reasons why this is not happening all the time are related to what Martin has said, but also to the fact that this is really a complex system. Yeah. It's complex inside the institution itself, because most of the time the IDP operator does not know what are the services accessed by the users. And if you count that the services are both local to the institution, coming from the federation, and coming from EduGain in the number of thousands of services, multiplied by different use cases made by, again, usually tens of thousands of users per institution, this is really a complex system. So somehow I'm sympathetic with the IDP operator that has to, do this job. I don't want to blame them, even though I do agree that, I mean, sometimes this risk-adverse attitude is really annoying. But at the same time, they have to deal with the complexity that adds up to the work that they're doing every day. So how can we try to reduce this complexity? So maybe we can talk about this later, but I think that the entity categories, for example, that so these labels that we put on services to tag them and say this is a service that has these needs and it's coming from well, yeah, there's these needs for attributes, but probably they prove not to be enough. At the end of the day, this is the net result, because we still have this problem of releasing attributes. And if we still have this problem, well, it will be difficult to answer all these services needs that you were listing before. So I think that we need to find a way to address this complexity and, make it more manageable.
I have another topic which I still think needs to be raised, and what I even heard this morning amongst ourselves is that let me vouch that SurfNet is also yeah, that we're also into yeah that we're into public values, and what means that well, doing good for the world, but also making sure stuff stays open in an interoperable way. And what I see now, at least in the Netherlands, that there are really, really many universities going full-blown into the Microsoft ecosystem. And why I can understand it for very good reasons, at least from a financial perspective. It also has really some well, at least to say challenges. I mean, if you want to collaborate, then and you're into the Microsoft ecosystem for both your directory and your IDP and your services, Microsoft is not per se in a very good open system to connect to other services that are outside that of that ecosystem. And for instance, if I take the case of the university alliances, the European, I mean, probably the most easy way for a university alliance is to basically say, well, if everybody is in a Microsoft system, yeah, and you connect all your system services also to that Microsoft federation, you're done. Yeah, and you're done in a quite easy way, but you're fully vendor locked in for the rest of your life. Yeah. That's basically it. And I still think we should vouch there also to make those initiatives that are still open in an interoperable and in a scalable, decentralized way, because otherwise you know for sure that for all kinds of reasons, your data is into big tech, your identity is in big tech. I won't mention all kinds of geopolitical issues that are around here, but that also definitely chips in if somebody push a big red button, you're out of business as a university. So yeah, that kind of that we keep the autonomy and we keep the interoperability alive. That's really what I'd like to see.
And what we see with the big tech is that depending on what big tech you choose, you can work with some, not with others and stuff like that. So that's what we are doing in this type of community is crucial. We are opening it up so we can work together without thinking about the technology in the background.
No, exactly. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it's just to chip in and David again. I'm really passionate about this. I mean, for me, I mean, everybody in the end should be able to use its own systems, and there should not be a mandatory you shall use this vendor or this piece of software. And of course, we will use several pieces of software we all use, but even in this world, like we have Shibboleth, we have Simple SAML, PHP, we have the Python implement. We have 3 kinds of implementations, all open source, all more important interoperable. There are some closed source alternatives, fine, but at least as long as it's interoperable, you can be your own guardian of what you want to use and not mandatory by some vendor.
Yeah, I really don't have anything to add on this topic. You've said, you've said, yeah, no, I'm as you, I'm really an advocate for open standards, even more than open source. Yeah. And if someone has hindered the development of open standards, it's other people we're talking about. So, yeah, I say, if possible, stay out of there.
Okay, so one of the challenges that I heard that the university could have is that what of the services that they can actually connect their federation to. Could you make like a blue stamp, like this is whatever federations we are accepting these things, or like a global catalog or something like that? Would that be an idea, or have that been tried before, or is that just hanging somebody in the out?
So this is a $1 million question. Yeah. Comes up every 5 years, and we have done this for 20 years now. Service catalog. Yeah. Service catalog, there are different type of organizations tried in different, the last one I heard was Australia that doing a service catalog now. From an international perspective, we see it as very, very hard to do stuff like that, because what we have in metadata is what we can publish. Otherwise, there needs to be a curator some way or not. And the curator part is extremely hard and costs an extreme lot of money because it's people working. It's not AI, it's not anything else. It's just people. Sorry?
Not yet.
Not AI, not yet. Yeah, that's true. It could help, but to really get it good, you need to curate it.
I was actually thinking more that not you maintaining that catalog, but I was thinking like giving them the vendor or the service a blue star. So when a university wants to connect, they could see when they went to them, oh, they had this certified blah, blah, blah.
So that is what entity categories are. Yeah. So that's not. It's about describing entity categories to be what you talked about earlier today. Is a marking and metadata, setting up a rule set for that service. That the rule set is you need to follow these things in this open defined specification. And if you do that, you can have that type of marking on you. And it may or may not include release of attributes from an IDP, but get the IDPs to trust that is hard.
So as Paul was saying, I mean, this has been tried many times, but I think that I would argue that out of technical information, you would need at least a brief description of the service and the audience, at least, I mean, and how to, enable the service, either subscription-based, paid, contract, whatever. And if you count the number of services that we have in Edugain, almost 4,000, it's we do have problem in asking them to add just a few metadata, a few information about the service, and we are talking about technical information that are needed to run the service. As Paul was saying, the requested attributes. Forget about description, audience, and how to subscribe to the service. I mean, at least it's quite difficult to have this for the 78 federations that are participating to Edugain right now.
So as Paul says, we're starting to roll out a service catalogue in the AAF. It's been one of my things that I've been wanting to make happen for a while. And I agree, the maintenance of that catalogue's very difficult. We do have a process in place called our yearly compliance, and that's going to be extended to say, here is the information that we have published about your service. If it's wrong, let us know, and put the onus back on the owner of that information to regularly update it. And I think over time, our service providers will come to realise that it's their responsibility to make sure that their information is correct within our systems. We can't do that ourselves. We've just not got the manpower to do it. But we will start with what we do have. One of the other restrictions that I've sort of come across recently is that the description has got, it's an open-ended description, but the recommendations is for within the metadata, you restrict that to 140 characters. That's like an old tweet of days gone by. Nobody can tweet 140 characters anymore. You've got to have much more space, but that's not going to be available in the metadata. So anything we're going to get from other federations is going to be truncated, short, and not very useful.
How to distribute this information and how to,
you don't want to, and you don't want to bloat the metadata any further than it's bloated at the moment. We don't publish our icons because, well, for a number of reasons, but that's just one of them.
So I'm going to stay over here when I ask them this question because Terry, maybe you need to defend me, but because they were going to kill me now. Because one of the things that all three of them said was, it's super difficult to run a federation. And I've been working in projects, especially in Africa Connect and with some of the NRENs, and they really want to run federations and they think it's super complicated. So is the policies and stuff like that too complicated? Have you made it too complicated? I'm really not sure I want to give you the mic, but... So is it your fault or whose fault is it?
It's me, my fault.
It's Paul's fault. Okay.
I'm the policy guy, so that's, no. The problem is trust. And what you said before, trust is local. And what we are trying to do with federations, especially in the interfederation case, is that we are trying to do local trust in multiple layers. So a federation operator has to trust against, the home organization trusts the federation operator, and the federation operator trusts the home organizations. But the federation operator also trusts the inter-federation operator and vice versa. So that part of trust, that is the hard part, and that's why we need policies. We need to be able to describe how we do stuff in a good manner in some type of standardized way. So that's why there are policies, that's why we demand things like metadata registration practice statements and things like that. It's about building the trust. But I totally agree with you that it may seem too hard from the outside. I totally agree on that. But if we were 5 federations that we were from the beginning, or 7, the first 7 that we had again, we didn't care because everyone knows each other. But today we are not there anymore.
No. And for that matter, I think even on exactly, you have now the layer that the institution trusts the federation basically trusts the interfederation, and technically the other federations. And we should even probably raise the bar even more on a level of edugain, because technically it's now more of a technical trust infrastructure, not so much a policy tech infrastructure. So that makes it even, well, I think we should raise the bar for that, because, well, what Paul says, you don't have 5 anymore, it's 78. So it's no longer that you can do the warm fuzzy feeling of trust by knowing the people, because in the end, trust is about whatever you do. You can write down policies that much, but it also has to have a comfortable feeling of what you have. And the other aspect is, yeah, the fact that if you want to make sure it works, you have to have some kind of guarantees. So both in quantity and quality, you need to raise the bars. On the other hand, I also understand, for instance, when edugain started, it was basically a technical infrastructure for metadata exchange, and with good reasons to have a low bar on that and expand this. So I do understand, and there is one of the inventors of edugain also in the back of the room. So if he wants to comment later on that, that's fine. Thanks, Walter.
Old sins?
Yeah. No, but I mean, Walter was in the beginning of edugain there, so that's and for good reasons. That was there. So yeah.
Well, yeah. So
There is a mic behind you.
I go.
Here, keep that one here and take the other one, Mike. You run with that one.
You don't want to see me running around?
It's getting faster. We have 2 mics running.
I would have usually stood up. No, Martin, you've... Okay. So my name is Leila Dekker, I work for Jean. Martin, you've been raising in multiple sessions already this week that we have a technical trusted environment, but now we need to move on to the real, well, to have additional measures in order to make sure that what we see there is correct. My question is this not going to be an extra barrier for access to edugain? And how do we make sure that we make those decisions in a very inclusive way? Can we make sure that at the table of designing what it means to trust each other from a more policy level, we have all the new stakeholders, because technically they are as relevant members as the 7 initial ones, let's say. Thank you.
So I asked them if they could make it less complicated, and he said, no, let's make it more complicated. Basically, that's what I heard.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But we need to make it easy also.
Yeah. No. You want. It's complicated.
So currently there is a work with an edugain steering committee and edugain service to make things, how to figure out to make things more trusted but still keep the low bar, entrance bar. Yeah. You need to do it. I think we will in the future have 2 levels of trust, more or less. Because we need to get in all those that doesn't have a federation today, and they cannot go in on the high bar directly. So we need to figure out how to do this in a sensible, good way. And so, Eric, yes, it's hard, but it shouldn't be as hard for the new ones. No. That's very important.
My question is then, when are you going to do that?
We are working right now on it.
So next month's ready?
No, a year or so, or 5.
So I think that what is really complex, I do agree with the fact that it's a complex environment, but I argue that much of the complexity is due to uncertainty. So it is not just that the technical part might be hard, and I'm saying this for newcomers because I've been following up with them. Now we are talking with Ghana, with Burkina Faso, for example, and so the technical part is complex. The policy part is complex due to the fact that it is uncertain. So it's difficult to meet expectations. This is why if we make the policy more straightforward, in my mind, we're not really, I hope we'll find a way not to cut out anyone with this, but trying to use both an incremental process and, as Paul was saying, tagging, you know, the more advanced and the other one, well, advanced. Those that can respect some policies and the other that cannot, but in a clear way. Either you do it or you don't. Trying to, you know, diminish the uncertainty, because that is adding a lot of complexity. Not knowing from a service provider point of view if something is working or not, and for whom in edugain, this is definitely killing us. And I'm talking about, for example, we had a lot of complaints in the past from CERN, from, for example, and actually from HPC systems in Europe, and all the other people that are really not fond of edugain and the federation space, because they say, is this going to work? What is exactly the level of security that you can provide? It is difficult to tell, because the policy are, you know, a bit fluffy.
Yeah. Grab the mic.
Yeah, I think
I think you touched on a good comment. So one of the things when we built EduGain long time ago, so I was the project lead for EduGain 2008 and some years. And that was really the vision at that time, was to build the technical interoperability so that there would be the underlying framework in exchanging the trust information, the technical trust information between all the entities, between the service providers and identity providers. The discussions of attributes was relevant already at that time. There was an OpenID Connect meeting here in Japan 2011, where a lot of that discussions on how do we ensure the transfer of attributes to take place, and the challenge of that already by then. But on the question of security in EduGain, there is one thing that makes EduGain in our community unique, and it's good to take that sometimes to remember. Who knows best who is a student? Yeah. Who knows who is a researcher? And who knows who is connected to an institution? And that information, it's only the institution that have sovereignty. They are the ones that really know that information. And that is invaluable. And we need to find that way to how to communicate that information in a trustworthy way. Yeah. Between universities, between identity providers and service providers. It's a big challenge. I don't have an answer. We've been looking for that answer for a long time. But it's good to remember that as a community, we have a unique position. Whatever comes from Microsoft or anyone else, they may have a technical, very good platform for providing some identities, but they have no idea who we are. Just a comment.
No, thank you so much, Walter, because that is exactly our unique selling point. That is true. And also, but please go ahead.
Totally agree what Walter just said. If I put, however, myself into the position of a student, of a researcher, and I was sitting here, and I hear how you guys struggle really creating that trust, I would lobby with my department, let's just go via Microsoft. I'm just putting myself into those shoes.
You're right. We actually, in Africa Connect, or in Africa, we see universities doing that. That's why we have a proxy thing.
Yeah, that's exactly because I wanted to say, I mean, this sound a little bit, I don't want to, because mind you, EduGain is really successful. I mean, we have, exactly, I also want to put that into perspective. I mean, we're now struggling what we think can go better, but mind you, of course, we have connected like 78 countries. We are really successful because basically every transaction that goes via EduGain means no need for somebody else to create an own account, no need to go via Microsoft. I mean, everything. Is it perfect? Far from that. But are we successful? Definitely. Sorry. No, let me emphasize that too. And I think also for and that's what I also wanted to put in as positive comments also. I mean, mind you, I mean, yes, we want to raise the bar because I think that's better for predictability of the service. But we also use initiatives, for instance, in Europe on the core AI platform where we have My Academic ID to get very successful ratings to get people in via the Erasmus Plus project for student mobility. We're now using it also to get into university alliances to connect them in a very easy way. So no, I mean definitely, and exactly what Walter was saying. The unique selling point is the fact that the university knows what we can do. And yeah, that it's complex. I think personally also part of the complexity is in the fact that we have pushed quite some complexity to the access to the university itself. Now I know my my neighbor does not agree with me, but to my humble point, the fact that Surf Connect was built on a hub and spoke approach, we centralized stuff, made that some of those complexities are now pushed to the center of in our case at Surf, and we do also the technical complexities. We basically hide all the complexities for a university for them because we do it hub and spoke, and basically the proxies like My Academic ID and My Access ID are also hub and spoke, basically releasing complexity to the edges. And my humble opinion, we should go for a more proxy approach, stage approach, to hide that complexity, because exactly in the end what the university must supply, in my point, is this is a student with his attributes, and let the complexity be tackled at different places. And now my neighbor may comment on that.
Federation as a service was what you're saying, basically.
No, not at all. No.
It depends on what your definition as a service is. I mean, and basically, that is Surf Connect Federation as a service. Well, we offer the federation as to the universities. Yes.
So it is a service.
Yeah, it is a service because in the end, the university only has to connect to Surf Connect, and we tackle all the complexity.
Yeah.
I will not say federation service, we'll say federation use as a service. More. So from my perspective, me and Walter worked for years and years and years with community. You built it on a proxy, we built it on a community.
Yeah.
So there is different ways of doing stuff. But the end goal is the same. I normally tell a story. I said part of it already this week. When I started work at Uppsala University in 1997, the rector called me up and asked me to go to a researcher. That was a rather influential Nobel Prize taker. He asked me I need to be able to work together with my fellow researchers all over the world. We need to be able to communicate in a good way. And we couldn't solve that in a good way until 2015-16, when things started to work in Federation world. Then they could do stuff that they want to do in 90s. So don't forget that what we have, the steep curve we have had here, is we are successful because we are doing this stuff today, but we need to be even more successful. And that is what we're trying now. So it's about to make things better. Not America, but it's about to make things better.
Yeah, predictability. Yeah, go.
Yeah, Just want to add one bit. I think that what has been done more than 10 years ago in building EduGain is so successful that we are now here to talk about advanced use cases. But, I mean, somehow we are the victim of our success, because this infrastructure has become so reliable, so global, and it's attracting so many people around the world, and NRENs and users, that now the needs, I mean, the requirements for the infrastructure are higher. And the expectations are higher. And this is what we need. So it's probably completely silly to say, oh, we should have done this differently from the beginning. Probably we wouldn't be able to be here if we would have done things differently from the beginning.
No, no, you're not getting it. No.
Well, I fully agree with him.
Yeah, Leila?
No, moving back to maybe a more Asian context, what are the trends that you see from the Asian federations, and what are the quick fixes? Like, you always notice some errors, but actually that's the solution, and this is how you could improve it.
They don't want to answer that.
I can answer that. The standard trend for new federations, not only Asia, but we see it clearly here in Asia, is the access to publisher services. That is the trend. If you look at a lot of federations here, they are, for example, Terry talked about India earlier today. They are doing this more or less only for access to publishers. I hope that we will come into research community, research infrastructure access and things like that in the future. And education. But Europe is a bit specific there, because we do a lot of stuff within Europe together. If you have those type of things, you can use the federation, of course, for that. But making just publishers work is good. It's very good. And that is what we see in new federations. Then access to big telescopes, HPC systems, discussion forums and things like that for researchers. That is the natural next step. When we did this from the beginning in Europe, we did the other way around.
No, I completely agree. The only thing that I want to add is that the publishers are basically making, even now, they're making the vast majority of the logins happening on EduGain, and probably in all the identity federations that we have. But a few logins from the telescopes or HPC systems are the more valuable. So really, I mean, the answer use case is, even if this is where we are providing a great service for our community that nobody else can provide.
I also think here what you see sometimes is the impact both in quality and in quantity, because it's for instance those small services in amount of users, which are the telescopes and the stuff like that, but very high impact. I mean, access to the Lumi computer, which we provide via my Access ID, is something that, well, the amount of users is not that high, but the impact it has is very high. On the other hand, go to the My Academic ID service, which we see here in Europe. It's the masses from students that uses it, which makes it way more reliable for everybody to use. Otherwise, everybody had to have a separate login. Well, that doesn't scale. I mean, this makes scalability and exactly the USP, the fact that we know, our institutions know, who are the students and who are the researchers.
Can I just ask one more question? So I just want to make sure that nobody mistakes me for one of the students that pushes for Microsoft. Yeah, so that I want to make very clear. And for me, yeah, EduGain, what you said of federated access to expensive resources like HPC, this is such a fantastic value proposition. My point is, I know in Europe, we do promote we do really sell that value proposition very well. Do you know, or have you got a feeling about that kind of, I call it marketing because for me marketing is not a dirty word. Do you see that also in other regions, including Asia? Is it actually being promoted by, is there local ownership for that?
Yeah, that's very simple and a hard question at the same time. What we see is that, for example, in Americas, they are doing the same thing that we do in Europe. But if you less communication, you less service you use together, you less of this you have. So you need to find those things. You need to find, for example, a project or that, for example, is an HPC use over many countries. That's the things you need to find to make this work and take hold. Yeah, you need you need to do this in both especially the research community. We need to reach out to the research community, and the only one that can do that is the researchers themselves and the federation operators. They are there to help.
David, I want to go back to something you said earlier today. You said you were sitting and helping out these new federations connecting technically. Is there a trend in challenges? Is it one thing, or is it just super technical challenging for them to go on? And how do we solve that problem? Is that just call you?
No, it's yeah. So we do have a training initiative inside EduGain. We used to have. We are now preparing a new round, basically one every year, either remotely or in presence. But we are now converting all the learning material that we have set up in these years into something like an online course you can take by yourself. But the point is that why it is so difficult? Because it is not just a technical challenge, it is an organizational challenge, it is a policy challenge at the same time. So this is the difficult part. And a cultural challenge to some extent as well. So this is really the thing. And of course, the fact that you may be in a country where most of organizations do not have a very well developed identity management system is hindering you back. So is a blocker. The number of countrywide project that could foster the adoption of a federation is low because you miss the infrastructure. So it might become also a chicken and egg problem. So this is something that usually is easier when you have these two things, at least identity management well developed, the need locally. I'm talking about inside the country, the need for something that can be used for countrywide services or countrywide projects. So it's something that I think this is the complexity, because it's something that has to do with the will to do these things. If you don't have the push, the needs, and something already built in terms of infrastructure, then the complexity is very high. But it is high because you have to solve a lot of problems at the same time.
Yeah. And you were saying here in a country, but I even think already on an institution, it's already there. If you don't have a well-maintained identity management system in your institution, it's already going to be hard to, then it's basically, garbage in is garbage out, to put it a bit bluntly, sorry, Dutch. But I mean, I mean, if you have a good identity cycle management in your institution or not, I mean, if you use that for if you federate your own local services and you have a good identity management system there in place, you can use that for your own institution. I think that should already be the largest carrot, to have a good identity management system for your own services. And if you use that, then you can basically reuse and expand that at basically the same cost to other services that come from your federation and from educating. But it starts with having your own system and your own services.
And today those new identity systems are the big techs, Microsoft, Google, and so on. So what we see, another trend we see, is that there are bridges between those big tech and the identity federations. So because the big tech's technology cannot handle our, now you will use a very technical word, multilateral federation. They can have bilateral things, but we do it in a much more scalable way, and they cannot handle that. Therefore, we need bridges, and that is what's happening all over the world right now.
Yeah, and Microsofts and the Googles are basically also, I mean, we're for them an edge case, or not financial enough of an interest, nor the interest to basically be interoperable, because that's basically, well, bad for business.
Even though that we talk to them directly.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't completely agree on this. I think that Microsoft, especially, maybe Google is not really paying attention to us. But Microsoft has been dealing with this community for so many years, and they very smartly made their systems compatible to some extent with us, but not enough. And I think, I mean, it would have taken just really a small step for them, something a bit, to be completely interoperable. They decided not to. So they basically, yeah, you know, and I think that they've done this for a purpose, because they were moving to the centralized platform. They are basically against this kind of distributed system where you are in control of your own. To be honest, I think this is at least the plan, but that's just an opinion.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you something about if the NRENs can do something for you, because I'm looking at, I have my good friend Tawit sitting right here, and we started a project many years ago, 16, 17 or something like that. We started this project, and one of the things we discussed, 18? 18. We started this project, and one of the things we discussed at that time was federations also, because it was a user-focused service that we were deploying, and we discussed, so is there anything, if I work on a project anywhere in the world, it could also be in Africa, is there anything that you need, or, because Tawit is the CEO of BDRN, so if I had some information and we could sit together, that it would make life easier for deploying or getting started on a federation. Is there like a cookbook? Is there anything or information I need to share? Is there a forum I say, hey, you need to jump to these guys, or something where we can do something that will ease up things for everybody?
So this is multi-level. So I will take the first level. I will give it over to Martin and Davide for next. The first thing I see that NRENs can do, both from a national and global perspective, is to promote federations, promote the use of it. Help, even though, especially in Asia, it's very much universities around federations together with other universities. It's not NREN, but even then, the NREN can support this motion of doing stuff, even though the NREN doesn't do it itself. That's a quite important part, because it depends on where it stands, where we start. If it is going to the way we're going here in Asia today, or as in Australia, there it's not NREN, it's another legal entity that runs it, but still the NREN can promote it, help with it.
Yeah, and what you say, depending if it's the NREN who runs it or wants to run it or another organization, collaboration, yeah, promote it, and to be honest, if you're the NREN and you do have the money, because there it boils down to, put investment in this, because it pays out. Of course, it costs money on an NREN level to invest in this infrastructure, but in the end it pays out to your connecting members, because they have a lower burden of administrative costs, because basically the thing they anyway do for the identity management system then be used also for the stuff going to the publishers, to well, the HPC systems, anything. So yes, of course, it costs money. It is an investment. It is an infrastructure, and an infrastructure has to be maintained. But again, here collaboration. The reason that an NREN is there is also to connect its members, because, well, each and every university could do its own network connection, but why would you if you can collaborate? And well, the same is for the federation. You could do it all on your own, but if you do it in a scalable, centralized way, it lowers costs and it gives bigger benefits.
So Eric, you just answered for me. Talk with me. Yeah, that's, I mean, how no, really. I mean, yeah, we do have guides. We do have cookbooks. We do have, of course, support emails. You just drop a line to support@edugain.org. But I'm here for this, as the Edugain service owner, and we come here exactly for this.
I will post his phone number later. No. Yes.
Actually, I also could share some of our experiences about how to deploy this and how to collaborate with Edugain. Honestly, at the very beginning, sorry, I need to introduce myself. I'm Jian from CERNET, China. So at the very beginning, honestly, it was very difficult for us to follow all the document process. So even our professor from Peking University, which is one of the best university in China, she's really good. She's good at technical things and English writing, but it was still very difficult for her to follow all those kind of procedures. Finally, after half year, he made it. So then later on, what she did is really, really helpful for us, is that she lead a team to develop a platform to make life easier for our universities. That's why our IDs, AP IDs are, how to say that? It's growing. That's really a big achievement she made. And another thing is investment. Yes, it is. And then we have a company, non-profit company, which helps CERNET for the daily operation and also all these kind of services. So the CERNET.com invest money annually to Peking University, to this team, to maintain the Edugain and EduRoam, all those kind of daily works. But that's something, the process for joining Edugain and also the NRENs efforts, how to help the universities and investment.
If possible, I would like to, so I've seen your platform at TNC, the one you use to manage the entities, and yeah, we've met there, and it's an incredible platform. I have to say I was impressed. But one of the things that might help are regional organizations like APAN. Well, actually, it is because we are here, right? So, I mean, in Europe, Jean has been a great driver for the adoption of federations. In Africa, WACREN and UbuntuNet, of course, and NREN, partially at least, has been really helpful. And APAN, of course, it is very helpful as well. So I think that if you can help, I mean, if the members of APAN can help also, as they are already doing, AEF has been done a great work on this. Right. The other countries in the region, you know, to develop the identity federation. A local help, with our support, of course, I mean, the Erdogan support, but a local help would be more than welcome, I think.
Oh, sorry.
No, just to reiterate what I said exactly, I mean, for the universities to collaborate in an NREN, it's good for the NRENs to collaborate in these platforms as APAN to also learn from each other, because basically, again, doing it together makes it way more beneficial, and you're not on your own, because there are people in the same position who did it. And yes, I do agree, and also with the investment, it's not only money, but it's exactly because just in the network business, you have a learning curve on how do these protocols work and what's the system, and starting really from scratch. Yes, you have to have one or two people who must make themselves comfortable with this. I mean, don't ask me anything about BGP or stuff like that. But it's also has a learning curve. And the same for this. It's doable, but it's a specialistic part of the IT world.
Yeah. So thanks. I really appreciate that, and I'm very happy to introduce our colleagues to the Tarit, our friend from BDRN, and also thanks a lot for the efforts at APAN. There were so many sessions here, and just sometimes we lose some connections between the colleagues from us. They are not here, and sometimes they not that often join TNC. I encourage them. So that's why last year, please use this platform to introduce your work here. So I think they took every chance, but not so many NRENs from APAN. They can go to TNC. So that's why this is very important. And then we could introduce each other and share our experiences. Yeah, thank you.
So, thank you very much, and thank you for giving me the platform to say something. So we have our federation, Tiger Fed, T for trust, I for integrity, G for group management, ER for education and research. And Tiger is our national based, you can say. So we call it Tiger Fed for Bangladesh. And I'm grateful to Terry for being our mentor, being our trainer, being everything actually. Terry did it. We didn't do anything. So I am grateful to Terry. Okay. So actually we are driven by the demand of our education community. So you were right. As Asian Federation, we are more interested in connecting the publishers. So we have 15 publishers now connected to our federation. It used to be the university community. They used to use Open Athens for getting access to the publishers. But now they are coming, they need to pay. So we are offering it free of cost. We don't charge anything, because we have other cash cow services. So we are not depending on this federation earning. So we are very much sustainable. So we are trying to promote the federation to the education community. So universities are now coming up. It was a chicken and egg question before. They used to say that if you don't connect all the publishers, then how we can connect to you? We cannot get simultaneously connected to Open Athens and to Tiger Fed. So you have to connect to the publishers. If we approach the publishers, they used to say, you don't have any members. So why should we get connected to you? So the problem is now solved. 15 publishers are there. And most of the universities, they use the publishers. They are now connected. So we are moving ahead. We are moving forward. But yes, no telescope service, no HPC service. Probably it is our incapacity that we couldn't approach the right researcher to promote our federation, or it can be other way around. The researchers are not that much advanced enough. I'm not sure, but maybe there are researchers in our country also. But definitely it's a wonderful platform to share our ideas, to share our views, and to get ideas from you. Actually, Paul was mentioning that it worked the other way around. The researchers, they came to first to HPC or telescope uses, more connected to research federation. We are more connected to education federation. So that is the situation in our country. I will love to talk to you guys with my technical expert. I don't know anything technically. So I will love to talk to you. And Terry helped us. I am again grateful to Terry. It would not have been possible without the help of Terry. So we are now in a stable state. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Yep, I'm coming.
Walter may need to correct me now. But the thing that made our federation SWAMID work and tick was killer services. That was the only thing that made us stand up and run fast. And the first killer service we had was a student system, the central admission system in Sweden. The second one was Adobe Connect, if you remember that service. That was long before Zoom. So it's an e-meeting system. It was an e-meeting system. And then we got other services. We got we are always running on finding and doing killer services to make things happen.
I think that goes for, that's the best way to promote a federation. And Walter, we need to make some stickers that we can carry around, I think. We need to promote this, right? And since you're who you are, then you should be the one making the stickers. Yeah, exactly.
Just one thing is, we're not here anyway to teach anyone. I mean, we have some experience, maybe a different grade of maturity, but to be honest, we are here to receive questions and to learn exactly what we can do better. Because it's us that we are learning how the things are done in this part of the world and what Edugain can do for helping you.
Yeah, and I think Edugain and in general identity federations, because exactly if you mention on the stuff, I mean, we try the best we can with information and documentation we provide on Connect to Edugain and how to federations, but please, well, Walter is standing up and asking a question, please raise exactly, come out to us, because we're doing to the best of our knowledge, but we also have knowledge gaps or cultural gaps or any.
And before Walter says something here, I will say it very simple. I'm here especially to learn from you because we are a bit stuck. We have done this for so long, so we need new, fresh ideas.
Just to comment on a little bit, Tarif, on BDRN, and also to comment on the use cases. And you're perfectly right, Paul. Those were the two cases that were driving the Identity Federation in the creation in Sweden in 2006, 2008. There was something before that, and that was around the 2003. There were some universities in the Stockholm region that thought, we have students that are going between each other. Shouldn't we be able to share the Wi-Fi login between these students? This is way before EduRoam. So then there was a project that at that time started with the same concept, that you had identity providers from the universities, and they had this, you remember these CAPTCHA login pages? And you could do this CAPTCHA login between a few universities that were based in the, that was a first use case. But it was still the underlying idea. There was an ask for joint collaboration, doing something together, where you could then reuse the identities from the universities. And all those use cases, they are always unique. There are always going to be something. Maybe it is something from the ministry. Maybe it is the publishers. Maybe it is a research. Maybe there's a telescope. Maybe there's something else. Whatever it is, it's something that we need to work with and engage with our stakeholders and try to identify how can we help them move forward. And it's sometimes a technical problem, but mostly a human interaction and trying to identify what are the things that we can work on together. So. Oh, yes. And the Captcha Federation died when EduRoam came, so then it was...
The one thing that also helped make BDREN and other federations possible in our region was the funding from GIANT that we got through the TN, or the Asia Connect program. That's all dried up now, and it's really hard to get people to come to these conferences physically in mass. We used to have a person from every nation to turn up. It was really easy to do training. We had 30 people in the room, all eager to learn how to do federation stuff. That's now really hard to do because they've got to make their own way here. So the funding of getting people to these conferences is also difficult.
Exactly. That's actually a theme that I'm hearing all around the conference. I actually have one last question, because Walter, every time I hear him talk, he talks about these ships that breaks the internet all over the world, all the time. That's all he talks about, basically, or maybe a little cable that he's putting somewhere. That can't break because there's ice on top of it. Yeah, you all heard that talk. So my question to you is, because this is also what I hear about the Federation, it's trusted and it's secure. But is it secure? Is it that secure? What, is the Federations not being targeted for cyber attacks and stuff like that? Isn't it getting more and more difficult? Isn't it? Is there? This is his last question before lunch, so just take your time. Yeah, operation.
Yeah, this is, it has, of course, a policy side and a project management side.
But they overcomplicate it.
Yeah, but they overcomplicate. So I can talk about operations. I'm also part of the EduGain CSRT.
Yes.
So, and this is something that here, the program manager, the project manager side has been fostering and advocating. And so we've been, we created initially an EduGain security team, and with the of course, with the support of the project, we have turned this into a full-fledged CSRT for EduGain. Even though, I mean, the effort is not too much. But I think what's important is that we have an incident response team for these kind of things. And security, but mostly incident response, can become quite complex at this level. And the problem, again, it's in the people not talking each other. So this is the real problem, the coordination. So the coordination among, multiple countries and multiple organizations. This is why EduGain CSRT can play a role as a trusted party. So here is where trust can support security and incident response. Without the trust, people are not talking each other, and you can't have better security and incident response. And from the technical point of view,
it doesn't work.
No, it does work, but again, the fact that we don't have a baseline for example, for the identity assurance, can have some implication. So you can have, for example, an open IDP in EduGain, and which is completely fine if you know that the assurance level of the identity is coming from that IDP is very low, and then you make a choice, right? But if you have open IDP in EduGain and you don't know that the identity is coming from that IDP, a really low assurance, then the service provider can't make a choice. And of course, if they have critical resources, they should probably not allow very low identity assurance identities.
From a security perspective, this is a very distributed security part. So if there is a hacker group or something that trying to do something, it's not so much in the infrastructure they can do.
Oh yes, sir.
Oh, Surfy, of course. That's the problem when you have a big gateway. Sorry.
I'll refrain from comments.
But the thing we have, the big problem here is if someone attacks a university, the user from that university have a problem reaching services, and we cannot solve that. That is down to a local university, but it's a very low group of users, very few users but it is important for that group of users. So it's important that the home organization does their security work in a good way.
Yeah, and to me, I don't think federated identity is inherent more secure or insecure than any other service, for that matter. I think for me, two things, especially on the technicals for both the resource providers as well as university, do use standard libraries. Don't try to invent it yourself, because we've seen that most often, but also with other services. If you do it yourself, well, you always fail miserably because you have way more leakages. And the other thing, I mean, mind you, what is, I mean, in the end, federation and identity management is a part of the security service portfolio anyway themselves. The alternative is that you have to do manual username and passwords in each and every resource. Well, well, that gives a hassle. That gives probably many more open leakages, not disabled accounts, people reusing the passwords basically anywhere, because we're human. We want to have it simple. So the password I use at service 1 is also the password I use at service X. So if that password was somehow hacked, then for sure one would like to get other users for sure can get into the other services too, because your credentials are out there. So I mean, mind you, is the service perfect? No, but I think the federated approach we use is way more secure than the alternative of using independent username and passwords.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. Yeah, but I think we should break for lunch now. Now we've been listening to these for almost 1.5 hours, right? So I was gonna actually finish it up now. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for listening. Thanks a lot for listening to these guys. As you hear, if you have any questions about federations, these guys are the ones to go to. And David said himself that I'm the one.
We're here to learn also. So
yeah.
Please, if you have questions or remarks, please let them know we're here. So.
Yeah, that comment was really important. That kind of it's nice to get some feedback on what you're doing. It is for all of us that are doing something that we can figure out anything, anywhere, without having the feedback. And I think these guys just want to serve the people who use the services.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're here to accelerate your stuff.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn or use or think, or exactly also the people here in developing federations, please reach out to us.
And if you want answers in the same time zone, as myself and Farhan and Dahlia.
Yeah.
Of course, also, yeah, also regional.
Yeah. Yeah. Terry's the guy, I think.
Handing it over to Farhan.
Oh, okay, okay. I just see you on all the mails.